They have things on new Xbox iterations, which Antoine's going to talk about. They believe that the future is going to be non-physical. Physical discs are not in the future for what they believe. We got a roadmap for upcoming games. So they had games listed such as the Oblivion remaster. Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be exclusive and is not going to be coming to the PlayStation definitely now, according to some of these leaks. We also have some new leaks on controllers, such as gyro controls and haptic feedback on their new controller, as well as a rechargeable and replaceable battery, which is going to make it seem a lot like the PlayStation DualSense. So it looks like they're taking a note from PlayStation there and adding haptics. And then a whole bunch of emails came out, and those emails have been probably quite the headache for Xbox. A lot of them come out and say things that don't paint Xbox in exactly the best light. For example, one of them, probably the one that's been circulating the most, is the one in which Phil Spencer basically talks about his desires to acquire Nintendo. So basically what he was saying, in short, is that acquiring Nintendo would be, as he sees it, a career moment. And the quote is, "I honestly believe it's a good move for both companies. It's just taking a long time for Nintendo to see that their future exists off their own hardware. A long time," end quote. He also talks about how they have former board of directors from Microsoft who have been buying stock in Nintendo, and they feel that having these friends or allies having stock in Nintendo would make it easier to get a buyout from Nintendo. It also talks about other companies that they considered buying out, such as Bandai Namco, Capcom, Konami, Square Enix, Take-Two Interactive, Ubisoft, Valve, WB Games. Valve and WB Games are two that they specifically said would be fairly big. And they also had emails where they were trying to reverse engineer the PlayStation 5 browser to try to see if they could get xCloud to work on in PlayStation and bypass PlayStation entirely just by running xCloud through the browser. Yeah, quite a bit in there that I won't say damning, but it doesn't look good. But again, this is all corporate speak. Who knows how serious a lot of these things were. Some of this might have just been wishful thinking, and these are definitely not things that were meant to be exposed to the public. And it's also worth noting that looking at the dates of some of these things, for instance, Phil Spencer talking about wanting to acquire Nintendo is back from 2020. This is 3 years ago, so it's hard to say how much of these are still current feelings within the company and how many of these are things that are no longer of a concern. For example, one of the emails was Phil Spencer coming out and saying he looked at the specs when the PlayStation 5 was announced, and he was talking about how he's not worried about it, how the Xbox just has better specs and their software is solid. And he was basically saying, like, the PS5 is of no concern to me. I'm sleeping easy. And of course, we know that just before Starfield came out, he said that they're in third place and there's no conceivable way that they could overtake PlayStation and Nintendo. Obviously, some of these sentiments have changed. Yeah, it's fun to see what some of their thinking was behind closed doors. The Nintendo one particularly, a lot of people are speculating, like, what's Nintendo doing today after reading these leaks? And the general consensus is that Nintendo's probably just sitting there laughing. No, it's not going to happen. But he is right in that acquiring Nintendo would be a career moment. That would be pretty defining. But yeah, saying that Nintendo's future, that for their own good, they should realize that their own future is off their own hardware is an odd thing to say. It's bold.
Yeah.
It's bold.
Yeah. Especially since they have their own niche, and that would be a very big monopoly. They would never pass through the FTC this time.
No, but again, this was before their acquisition of ABK. Now there's almost no chance. But back then, who knows? Things might have been different.
The information was revealed because the court documents, and Phil Spencer admitted that the internal documents were not redacted when they were supposed to be. But I think the Nintendo rumor, I think, has a lot more legs to it. Something I found out if you were reading the news this week or last week, Elon Musk's unofficial biography came out. And in that biography, as everyone knows, he bought X, but he bought X because the previous founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, said, hey, yeah, you can use my shares to help you buy Twitter. And I can imagine somebody at Microsoft saying, yeah, hey, friend ABC, let's combine our shares and buy Nintendo. And I think that's entirely doable. And when it comes to the hardware part, I think that's true, right? The future of a lot of stuff is not going to be hardware just because hardware is so expensive. There are much more important things than gaming consoles to be made with high-end CPUs and GPUs. Not to mention, right, you go back, NVIDIA made the original Nintendo Switch. It uses the Tegra. And NVIDIA now last quarter shipped, I think, 1 billion AI units. They're not going to be making stuff for Switches anymore because AI makes more money, honestly. So the future for Nintendo is definitely not their own hardware, not their own consoles. Gonna be some sort of cloud streaming solution, and you play it on your phone or you play it on a tablet or something like that. And why make loss-leading hardware when you can just stream it all from the cloud at some point in the future?
So again, I was planning to talk about the fact that yes, it's the leaked FTC documents which happened due to the fact that, as you know, there has been a lot of talk between Microsoft and the FTC due to the purchase of Blizzard Activision. So the leak is originating from here. Apparently, that's not a rumor, but a fact. And there's plenty of documents which have been leaked, which shows, and it's very easy for you to find on internet, which shows all the details about the mid-gen device refresh. As Adam talked, the new Xbox controller, nicknamed Sibyl, or Sibyl, I don't know how you pronounce that. You have all the launch timelines. Let's start with the refresh of Xbox Series S and X. As Adam said, and that's what's worrying, I would say, but tell me what you think about it. All of the refresh and further console are digital only. No more slots for CDs, which I find a bit sad, but they build a lot upon the success of PlayStation experimentation with haptic feedback on the pad, with their cheaper console with digital only. Apparently was quite successful. So now the new console would come out with more physical storage, a bit more connectivity, and all digital. So they would be lighter, nicer, and no CD. We can see on the leak, we can see the design of the new Xbox. They decided to move away from the fridge, and now you have some kind of cute little pod which look like a speaker.
It's a cylinder, yeah. They went from they went from the cube to a cylinder.
And it would be at $499. Again, all this, so this, they say that a lot of this information is old. Fair enough. Likely some of this information is old. But again, remember that it's something that they gave the FTC in the recent purchase. It can't be that old, right? Yeah, that's how it is. In terms of launch time, so we're talking fiscal year here and not calendar year. So fiscal year of Microsoft and end of June. So fiscal year 24 is June 24, 2024. They were planning to launch the new pad end of May 2024 at the price of $70. And they were planning to launch the refresh of the current S and X series in August and October of 2024. So the smaller version, nicknamed Elwood at 1 terabyte, launch as which is Series XS, and X, which nickname is Brooklyn at 2 terabyte, would launch at 500 end of October. So big plan for Microsoft next year. I don't know again if these timelines will be respected or if there's going to be some delay. But yes, that's the original plan, at least from what we can see upon the leak. And yeah, that's pretty much it. After this, they will launch some new Universal Controller, and they were talking about a brand new console coming 2028, but without much details on it. Just that there would be some light OS at $99, but they were saying that they would rely way more heavily on the cloud, making it like a hybrid hardware cloud machine with a light software, maybe to reduce the cost of the machine itself.
The hybrid thing is that a lot of people are concerned because if we remember back when the Xbox One launched, and they said the whole thing about how it has to basically be always online because you need to check in to verify your games or whatever. This would be, it wouldn't be that, but it would require you to be connected online at all times because part of the processing power would be done online. I don't know exactly what it would be, but for examples that people have used in the past would be things like Sea of Thieves, where the weather is done on the cloud. So the weather conditions and the ocean conditions are done on the cloud. And so all that processing is done online, and then your character and stuff, that's all processed locally. So it would probably be something like that. But the concern is that if the system is built around this, then you would need to be online at all times. You would not be able to play offline because, or at least some games you would not be able to play offline because it wouldn't be able to process certain parts of the game without the internet. And so I know there are some people, especially people who are the same crowd that are really the people who enjoy buying physical, they like that collection aspect of it, are a little bit concerned with this kind of push to move everything online. That's the thing for me, is I was thinking if they were going to push for an all digital Xbox, that made perfect sense. Yeah, Noble Cooper's over here. What's it like to have no internet? Yeah, sorry, you can't play your games today if you have no internet for whatever reason. If you live in my house and it's spotty at best, then sorry. So the sustainability part, that's cool. Using less electricity, that's great. I like all that. But yeah, for me, if I was going to look into an Xbox Series X, for me, I don't think I would get an S personally. I'd probably just go for an X. But if I was looking for an X and I'm like, okay, I can get the basic one with a disc, or I can get a discless version. If I was going for the discless version, I would probably go for it because it would be cheaper. If it's the same price, I think personally for me, I would just go for the disc version.
Of course, same as what PlayStation did.
Exactly. Exactly. Because PlayStation had a discless version, but it was cheaper. And so that was an option.
Yeah.
And I wanted the disc version, so I went for the more expensive model. But yeah, if I wanted the discless version, I would hope that it would be cheaper.
Yeah, because disc-like version, collector's edition are gonna have trouble with that.
Yeah,
you get a collector edition, but there's no CD in it, just the jacket, but no CD.